All right, guys, I'm here with a very special guest today. I am here with Catherine Nunez. You might know her as Lift with Cat, not Lifts with Liz, on Instagram. How are you, Kat?
I'm so good. How are you, Liz?
I am fantastic. So, Kat and I met in LA because we were both two little lost puppies in the sea of zoo culture madness. And then we ended up spending the whole day together, which was super fun. How do you think the whole event was? People keep asking me, and I'm like, I'm still processing.
Oh my gosh, I know. I needed a couple like days of recovery after that. It was my first I guess event I've ever been like in the industry, I guess if you can consider it that. So I think for me, just like being in the same space with all of these people that we're all doing the same thing was really just like it was really high energy and just like an interesting scenario in itself, which I thought was just fun to be part of. But yeah, I definitely needed some time to like recoup after that weekend.
Yeah, it was a lot. Have you been seeing the TikTok videos going around of like Bradley screaming at people to get out?
Yes, I have.
All my friends keep asking me, they're like, were you there for that? Like, did you have to get out? I was like, no, we stayed, but it was definitely like up for debate. Like we were just like to each other, like, are we good? Like, do we stay? Like, do we leave?
Yeah. Yeah, I just felt bad for everyone like waiting outside. It was just like a horrible weekend with weather.
Yeah.
So yeah,
I
yep.
was drenched when I first came in and it like did not look good with my bangs. And I was like, all right, I'm soaking wet. I know nobody here, but let's make it work.
Yeah. I mean, that's the fun part. You're a little bit uncomfortable.
I know. Yeah, I know. You got to push yourself out of your comfort zone. But I wanted to have you on the podcast because I have a lot of people on to talk about how they balance like a healthy lifestyle and healthy habits while just being a regular person, whether that's like a full-time job or for you, you're a senior in college. So you are from Chicago, right? And does your family still
Yeah.
live in Chicago or is your family in Arizona now?
Yeah, my family's still there in
Okay.
Chicago.
So you are from Chicago, moved all the way to Arizona by yourself. And now you're a senior biomedical engineering. Is that right?
Yes, that's
How do
correct.
like I can't remember what I ate yesterday, but I remember that you're I remember your major. Um
It's a tongue twister.
yeah, well my one of my roommates in college was biomedical engineering, so that one sticks with me. Yeah, not for my brain. But I guess we'll start from the beginning. How did you get into fitness? Like, did you play sports in high school? Like, have you always been weightlifting? How did
Yeah, sorry, what was that?
how did it all start?
Yes. So in high school, I played soccer, but I honestly was not very good at it. I played kind of like the community league for the longest time. I didn't really like jump into club until I was in high school. I did club for like about 1 or 2 years, and I liked it for those 1 or 2 years, and then I just kind of fell out of love with it, kind of like how you do when you're finding your hobbies.
Yeah.
And then throughout the 4 years of high school, I was in cheerleading. So that was not like really a high intensity sport, but it was just something that was just like fun, a way to stay active, improve flexibility. And yeah, that was just kind of like more of a social thing. But I had always had this desire to like become like really strong and like fit and like I think in high school I never imagined myself in that way. I kind of just always, thought it was like my genetics or I was big boned or,
Yeah.
that wasn't really something that was like necessarily who I was.
In the club.
And then when I went Yes. Yeah. When I went to college, I had just seen like all these like strong, like badass social like women on social media. Like these jacked women. I'm like, oh my God, they look amazing. Like I want delts, I want biceps, like they look like so good. Like I just want to look like that. So it really came purely out of like physical desire. I was like, I want to change my body, I want to look strong, I want to look fit. And so I started weightlifting my freshman year of college.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's
How did you? So I feel like a lot of people can kind of relate to that. Like, I started going to the gym, I would say for two reasons. One of them was I ended sports in high school and was like, where do I go from here? Like, I needed somewhere to like take my mind off things. And then the second part is like, you just want to feel comfortable. I wanted to feel comfortable in my body and make a change. But when I started weightlifting in people on Instagram were just breaking out. Like it was basically just Whitney Simmons and like KK Fit, like just like those Gymshark athletes and not much more. So how did you learn what to do in the gym? Like how'd you learn the ropes? Did anyone teach you?
Yeah, I actually was really lucky my freshman year. There was another guy in my residence hall, like on my same floor as the co-ed floor, that I had just met and we had, just chatted. We were friends. And he was like, I want to start like lifting weights. Like I've been doing it in high school a little bit, but I want to get more consistent. I'm like, oh my gosh, same here. So he was kind of like my gym buddy. We would go 6 days a week. It was insane. We would go 6 days a week, like in the morning or in the evening. We would have like the same time every single week. And he kind of like brought me through the ropes of like the main compound lifts. So like squat, bench, deadlifts, like the main kind of like bro split kind of pieces of information with lifting. So he was there with like spotting and like form with the start of my journey, which is actually really helpful. Especially we were going to the ASU gym at the time, and that gym, it's this is one of the largest universities, so it's packed. And so especially like first stepping into the gym, it can be very overwhelming to work out
Yeah.
in that gym. So it was very nice just to have someone that like I would walk in with. We would do our whole workout together, and then I know that like we would walk out together too. Like I knew that he would have something that we could work on together for that session.
Right. I guess it kind of made it a little less intimidating too, because you had someone who was kind of at the same starting point as you going through the same thing. And like you said, like walking, I remember when I first went to college, because I went to Rutgers, so it's also a pretty big school. I didn't even know how to get in the gym. I think I went to like the wrong door. And I was freaking out, panicking about going because I was like, where's the locker room? Like, I'm going to be navigating my way around here, like so lost and alone. So it's definitely nice to have a buddy.
Yeah. It is. And yeah, even just like for consistency as well. Like at the start, you don't really see results from like week one in. Like, so it's nice to have that accountability partner to like be like, okay, we're sticking it out. We're gonna go.
Yeah. So what made you start your fitness page then? Like when did that all happen?
Yeah. So I started my social media the summer after my sophomore year.
Okay.
Um, and yeah, I think for a while it was something like a couple months prior, something that I was thinking about starting just because um I had kind of taken autonomy over my journey my sophomore year because I wasn't lifting with my friend. COVID happened in my freshman year of college.
Right.
So I didn't have this friend anymore. He actually switched colleges. And I had to start learning like what my lifting sessions were going to look like on my own. Like, we were trading for his goals. He wanted to grow like his pecs, his biceps, whatever. Like I want to, obviously grow my body too, but like we were not doing hip thrusts. So I
Right,
had
right.
to learn like basically the biomechanics, the physics, the science like behind lifting in order to get to my goals because I loved that side of things. And so my sophomore year, I like started that journey, had learned a lot, and I just wanted to spread like the information that I had learned that year the summer after. And so that's when I started my social media.
I love that. So what did COVID look like for you? Because I went to school in the same state. Like I went to school 30 minutes away from my home. So obviously I was trapped inside, but when things started to reopen, like my friends were around and stuff. Did you go back home to Chicago or did you stay in Arizona?
So when quarantine was happening, I was home. But then I actually work an on-campus job. I'm a community assistant at the dorms here. So they kept this position, as soon as the sophomore year started, my sophomore year started. So it was kind of like a half COVID year, half not COVID year. Like, the residence halls weren't filled all the way. Not everyone was going in person to class, maybe only like 10 or 20 people were in class. So as soon as quarantine was over, I started my sophomore year in person in
Oh, wow.
Arizona. So I moved back out to Arizona and, we were wearing masks
Oh,
in the gym, it was modified, but as soon as I was done with quarantine, I was like, I'm ready to go.
wow. Wait, so your sophomore year was my senior year of college. My entire senior year was virtual. Not a thing.
Yeah, ASU really wanted to make it like asynchronous and like have as many in-person opportunities. The dining hall was all takeout and like there's not a lot of people on campus. But I mean, for me, it was just good to kind of be out of my home. Like I was ready to be in the dorms.
Yeah. So what did you do during that quarantine? Like, do you have space in your house to work out or like how was it?
Yeah, so when I went home to Chicago, they were very strict about quarantine. Like they were like no gyms, whatever. So this was like a really great period for me to focus on my nutrition. So I actually started working with my first online coach, which like made the world of the difference for like actually seeing physical results in the gym. Because like nutrition is such a huge part of it. Like my freshman year, I was lifting and I was just eating whatever I wanted, and I really wasn't seeing like the results I wanted. So working with my online coach during quarantine, like was just amazing. And I worked with her for like a year after that. And we made like insane physical progress. Like it was just great. So my focus was nutrition at the time. I really was not able to lift. There was not space in my house to lift. I didn't have weights,
Mhm.
but I made so much progress with like the nutrition part of my fitness journey that it was, worth it in the end.
Right. I feel like that was quarantine was a blessing in disguise, or the only way you could really look at it is a blessing. Otherwise, it's just kind of sad. But I took a lot of quarantine to double down on like my form with everything and work on my mobility and things that I just didn't pay attention to when I was in the crowded Rutgers gyms where it was like you had to grab a pair of dumbbells or you were out of luck.
Yeah, you like grab the 15s before they're taken.
Yeah. So you don't go to the ASU gym anymore, do you?
So, and I actually have been going to the ASU gym like my entire college um journey, my college life, except for this past semester. So I got a membership to another gym, and I still actually went to the ASU gym this morning. I bounce between the two. The reason why I got a different gym membership this semester is because I want to feel more comfortable recording content. Previously, I'd gone to the gym at 6 a.m. and there was not a lot of people there, so I felt pretty comfortable doing that. But I always want to be like mindful of like not getting other people in the back
Other
or
students, yeah.
space and students and stuff like that. So I got that other gym membership so I can like work out later in the day and still be able to record.
Okay,
See.
cool. I like that you said that actually because I think that sways a lot of people. For me, I went to the Rutgers gyms until I couldn't anymore. Like my senior year, they weren't open, so that's when I got a other gym membership up at school because I still lived in my apartment and I had no choice but to go to an outside gym. But I think a lot of people are like totally turned off by going to a university gym because you're right, like they're crowded. There's a lot of people that you know. Um, but there are ways to make it work. So I guess off the top of your head, I just thought of this question. If you went to the school gym and it's crowded, like you go in and it's packed, how do you make your workout happen?
Yeah, sometimes it doesn't happen and I just go to work out at like my dorm actually has like a smaller gym,
Oh, nice.
and I can make use of the dumbbells and stuff like that. But for me, I my workouts are always like planned out because I do the same progression every single week, so I know what core 5 movements I'm going to be doing, or 4 movements throughout the session. So if I have to change the order of them based on what's open, I will do that. And I know a great tip is like to like just walk on the treadmill if you're able to like look at everything, or like sit on the turf and like stretch and warm up to kind of like eyeball like
Yeah.
what things are open if you're like a little bit afraid of like walking around the gym floor and like having people look at you, like stand like right now I don't care if people are, I will stand in the center of the gym just like, look
Yeah.
whatever. But as you're getting into it, like if you just want to like sit on the turf, stretch, like pretend you're not looking, but you're actually looking to see what's open, I think that's a great way of doing it too. And if you have to switch them like order of your movements around to like make the gym that you have work, like that, I think that's, probably the best way to go about it.
That's what I would say too. There's a lot of times where, yeah, I unfortunately have to sacrifice the order because we have to share the gym with people. Yeah. And I always have like modifications in the back of my head, I guess. Or, and this isn't like always the most optimal solution, but sometimes you just have to work in with people and if people ask you, like it's not optimal, but you kind of have to be understanding. Like it's unfortunately not my space, it's everyone's space.
Yes, yeah, that is something that happens yeah, I worked in with someone the other day. I mean, it's something that happens, you make
Yeah.
it work.
Yeah. So do you live by yourself up at school or like do you have roommates?
So I live in my own dorm room. I share a suite with another like student leader.
Okay.
And but my job actually covers my housing, which is one of the reasons, that I'm in it.
Right.
Which is great. So I live on campus. I live in the dorms. I eat from the dining hall, which makes, fitness a little bit of a challenge, but like there's ways that you can work around it.
So is a student leader like a residence advisor?
Yeah, so they call us community assistants. So I'm living in the freshman dorms, and
Okay.
basically,
How
we like help
fun.
the freshmen. We're like a touch point for them.
Okay.
Like get integrated to the community if they have any questions. They have, roommate conflicts, stuff like that. We're there to support.
Okay. Yeah, we called them RAs on in my floor, and my RA was a total narc, and he sucked.
No.
Yeah, he was like his name was Marcus, and everyone called him Narcus.
Oh my gosh.
It was so bad. He was like known for being a narc, so everyone would be like super like careful of what they said around him, and like kind of like we would like kind of joke about him sometimes, which is kind of not nice, but whatever. And then one day we had these little like I forget what they were called, but like common rooms on every floor, and that's where the residents advisor, whatever they're called, like that's where Marcus's room was. So I'm sitting out there doing my homework on my laptop, and he opens the door and he's like, "Do you hear that?" And I'm like, "No." And he's like, "I hear like a tapping above my room." So I go in and like there's like a bunch of thuds, and I'm like, "Oh yeah, like that's weird." And then he like kind of closes the door, and I'm like, "This guy is like back at it again." And then he comes back out later and he was like, this is like ridiculous. I'm going up there to see what's going on. The next thing I know, ambulance is pulling up to my dorm, like five cop cars, like blocking off the whole thing. Apparently, the guy in the room above Marcus was tripping on like acid, and his poor roommate was like like most quiet, like shy person. Him and Marcus like called 911, and the emergency services came, had to like zip tie him down to a gurney and like take him to the hospital. I know. And
That is crazy.
yeah, I was sitting there like, oh, there's Narcus again, wondering about the tapping. And then I was like, oh shit, this like there's actual trouble.
Yeah.
Have you
Yeah.
had anything like that? Like any crazy?
Luckily, Luckily, I haven't dealt like with like saving a student's life. Like that has luckily not been a scenario that I've been in. I mean, I have actually been a CA for like 3 years
Mhm.
now. So I have gotten, I would say, lucky with like the scenarios that I've dealt with where I honestly the like worst thing that I've ever dealt with is like a roommate conflict. So it's been pretty chill. I've been pretty lucky. I know people have scenarios like that where that's not the case, and like, people are partying and, someone needs to be like sent to the hospital or
Yeah.
something like that. But that's actually never been any of my experiences, luckily.
So being a CA and also like I guess being into health and fitness and stuff, do you have a chance like do you like to go out a lot at school? Like or I'm assuming you're not like in Greek life or anything.
Yeah, no, I'm not in Greek life. I was thinking about getting involved in it my freshman year, but honestly, I had developed like really good friendships like my freshman year and like didn't really feel like I needed that as a
Mhm.
touchstone. But yeah, I mean, I do have a balance between, going out and like, focusing on my business and like what I'm doing with social media. And like, that is something that obviously I have to like figure out like what my priorities are and stick to that
Right.
to the course of the week. But I do obviously like to like hang out with friends and like
Yeah.
see people. And, that's a huge part of my quality of life.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And your boyfriend's my age or a year younger than me? I forget.
He is actually my age. He just graduated a year early.
Oh, so okay, okay. So how does that like is he close by to the campus?
Yeah, he's like a 5-minute walk for me.
Oh my
So
gosh, it's so
it,
nice.
yes, it makes it very easy to maintain that relationship as well. So luckily, like, it's not long distance or anything like
Yeah,
that.
I didn't really even ask him when we were out there. Is he like into weightlifting and stuff like that?
Yes, yeah, he does lifting as well. Yeah.
I got that
Mhm.
vibe, but then he was like, I'm just here to be the supportive boyfriend. And I was like, good for you, dude.
Yeah, he's not a social media,
Oh, he
fitness person at
does?
all.
He didn't say
No, he
anything.
doesn't. But
Oh,
he
I was
was
like, okay. I was like, he did not give off that vibe at all.
no, he does like software engineering. He does like computer science.
Yeah,
Not
you
his
two
thing.
guys, your brains don't work like how my brain does.
Yeah, everyone has I don't like writing papers, so
Yeah, I rather write.
everyone has their own strengths.
I rather write. Have you done any like internships or like anything towards your major or like any?
Yeah, so yeah, that's a good question. So my sophomore year when I started my social media, I was in an engineering internship actually. So um yeah, I was working with this team. It was called the Conformable Excluder team. So basically we were creating a endoprosthesis that would go through the just one of it's called like the articular vein. So basically it would redirect the blood flow, help it's basically help any blood clots if someone were to have a heart attack or something like that. So I was on the engineering team for that my sophomore summer. And it was a really cool experience. I got to see like the manufacturers making it, and I got, some in-person experience, like actually working on an engineering team and like what the process looks like for that. But at the same time, I was starting my social media.
Mhm.
So in the morning, I would go to the gym at like 6. I'd work out from like 6 to 8, and then I would drive home. It was like a 5 minute drive, which is really nice. And then I would be at work by like 9:10. So I would start my job at 9:10, and I'd work to 5, and then I would spend 5 to 7 like making content, posting it, and then I would go to bed. So at the same time, I was like starting my social media, and I was just like so like I loved it. Like I loved making the content. I loved like the comments that I was getting back from women. Like I loved feeling like I was like helping people and like, helping people's understanding of like what to do in the gym. And like that just the juxtaposition of those two jobs, like it was like day and night for me. Like I knew at the end of that summer that like engineering wasn't necessarily the route that I wanted to go.
Right.
And like I was just so in that time period, at least like just focused on social media, and I loved it.
Right.
So
So
yeah, that was one of my
do you think your plan after graduating is like are you looking for a job or are you just gonna keep doing what you're doing now? Because you have a pretty big following, especially for your account being like 2.5, like almost 3 years old.
No, yeah, thank you. Yeah, I am planning on doing social media and online coaching after graduation, and that honestly took me like a long time to like feel really good about. Like after I finished that sophomore year summer, um, like for me, a huge part of my identity was like my academics. Like in high school, like I was in AP classes, like
Yeah.
I wanted to go to like an Ivy League school. Like I was very much like academics are the way for me. Like that's what I want to do. I wanted to be an engineer. And I'd worked really hard my freshman and sophomore year. So when I had that like experience my sophomore year summer, I really had to like come to terms with the fact that like academics weren't 100% who I was. Like that I placed so much of my identity as being like a scholar and like being like that 4.0 student. And I had to release like a huge part of me in order to be like, yeah, that, after that first semester my junior year, I'm not going to apply to internships because I'm so confident that I can do what I actually want to do next summer to make money. So that was like a huge transition, just like identity wise, like
Mhm.
because I had always thought of myself as like, yeah, engineering,
Mhm.
neuroscience. I wanted to do neuroscience or like research or something like that. And I had to like make a huge identity shift that like that was just an example of what I was capable of. It wasn't who I
Yeah.
was as a person.
I really relate to that. I've been the same way, like ever since elementary school. Like it was all about getting good grades and getting good grades so you can get into good classes in high school, and then taking all the hard classes in high school and getting good grades so you could get into college. And then I went through college and was like, I need to get good grades and apply to everything so I can get a full-time job. And it all kind of led up to that, and like using my brain and all that crap. And now I'm at a point in my life where it's like I like my full-time job and I like what I'm doing and it's very rewarding. but I'm finding that like my true passion is somewhere else, that it's like, okay, no, I'm not using the calculus that I learned in college for this and all that. But I think you and I having that hard or like what's the word? Like drive, like work ethic is one of the reasons why we're able to do like what we do online.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it like with, yeah, I agree. I think whatever life path like you choose, like it's just all about like being like very honest with like what you
Mhm,
want out of life. And just also like
mhm.
knowing that like if you decide to take a different path or you decide to like transition into a different field or you want to take that leap or you want to try something new or like maybe you're even not like making a leap but you like oh I'm tired of this field of my job like I want to try a different field like knowing that you can handle whatever that new turn, that new fork in the road is going to give you is just like such a positive thing to think when you're entering into that because you can absolutely handle anything that
Yeah.
life throws at you or any path that you decide to take. You just have to be honest about what path you want to take.
Yeah. I think that's really important for people, especially people going into college or people that are in college to hear. Um, because you and I obviously are talking about like a social media space, but there I know a lot of people whose parents were like, we're accountants, so you're gonna go to school and be an accountant. And the kid's like, yeah, like I'm gonna do that. And then they get there and it's like, okay, I actually like really don't like this at all, but what else am I supposed to do? Um, and not to sound really cheesy, but I just feel like life is way too short. And if you're gonna sit and be miserable either with your job or like not keep things that you love in your life with working full time, like what is the point?
Yeah, I agree. Even if you don't know, like let's say you're in a field and you're like, yeah, I'm not passionate about this. Like I'm going to work and I'm like not feeling it. Like you just know deep down, like it's not for you. You'd wake up and you're like not excited to go to work. Like that's okay. And like, all of us, like I would say like almost 100% of humans like experience this
Yeah.
like at some point in their life. And so I think like the first step is just being like honest with yourself, like, okay, yeah, this isn't something that I want to do, and that's okay. And also not knowing the path that you want to go is also okay. The only not okay thing is like accepting that as enough for yourself. Like
Right.
you know that you're deserving of like having a life that you love waking up to and having a life that you're like motivated to like, do day to day. So it's just, about going about how solving the solution rather than just like accepting it as enough for yourself.
I agree. I agree completely. Wow. That just got so deep. Oh.
Yeah.
Well, so
Um,
what are your like what do you want to do? I think you told me you're going to stay in Arizona after you graduate, so we're done with Illinois.
yeah, I mean I like Illinois. Chicago's nice. I really like it here. It's
Yeah. Nothing wrong with that.
the yeah, I like it here and I don't think I'll be here, more than like 5 years after graduation. I think I'd want to try something new. I really like moving. I think it's I don't know, you
Yeah.
meet new people, you are living in a new space. I kind of almost like to think of it as like a data set. Like you're collecting a new data set of like what is out there in
Wow,
life.
that's a good analogy.
When you travel, like when we went to LA, like
Yeah.
that was a new data set where we met people, we like saw a different way of living. Like same thing with me moving out to Arizona. Like I saw a completely different, way of living. So, for the time being, like I really like it here. It's
Yeah.
a good space for fitness. There's a lot of amazing gyms. And
A lot to do
yeah,
too, like outdoors wise. Like there's just a lot of ways to move and be active there.
yes, yeah, and like hiking routes and stuff like that. So yeah, I'll be staying here after graduation just for a little bit. We'll see how long it lasts, but yeah, I really do like it there.
When because I like the way you kind of said that, like like traveling places. I've been able to travel to a bunch of different places in the past like 2 years, and it gives you a chance to see like, oh, would I like it here? Like that, like just opens up possibilities, even if you're not really thinking about it. But when you went to LA, could you see yourself ever being out there?
Um, I think I would have to see more parts of LA. I honestly think I've only seen the touristy parts, and
Mhm.
to that part, I would say like no, but I think if I were to experience like have like a local or like someone who's doing well like in the city, take me around and I felt like there's a community there, I would, be
I
down to
wish you
move just like any
stayed
other place.
that night when you went home.
I
That
know.
I tell you, I was like, I obviously liked, the palm trees and the beach and all that kind of stuff, but I have a beach here. But after like being immersed with like the
Mm.
locals and stuff, I was like, wow, I really like the lifestyle out here.
Yeah, I think that's yeah, I think I would have to have that experience to say that I would want before I would want to say that I would want to live there. Because I had an experience where, we were just driving. I actually went to LA one time before that. And it was my boyfriend and I, we were like driving around and we like didn't have a car, like we were like taking public transit and it was just like we were taking in the city and like we had nowhere to go. Like we had
Right.
no idea what to do. We were just like looking at like, you know, top places on Yelp and like what would come up there. And we did not have a good experience. But I think it's one of the things where it's like you need someone to take you
Yeah.
around and you need a
It's
car.
it's also such a big city too. The same thing, like even I go to New York quite often, honestly, but there's still some times where like I know I'm going with a friend and they're like, oh, like where do you want to go eat? And I'm like, I don't know. And there's quite literally like 1,000 options. And sometimes you just, especially if you're thinking about like going to stay somewhere, I think you need to have someone that actually knows the area, tell you where to go and what to do.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
You need someone to show you the
Do you
spots.
have any other trips planned for this year or anything? Anything exciting?
um, Honestly, not on the forefront. Oh, actually, I am going to LA again in March.
Me
I'm
too.
gonna be with so there's like this ASU tech. It's like Tech Devils. So basically, it's I'm a part of Venture Devils, which is students who have ventures, who have startups or have founded a company or
Oh, what's
are
that?
running their own business. And there's this, it's essentially like
Like a
a pitch
conference?
competition.
Oh,
Yeah, it's a pitch competition. So there's going to be like investors there. I'm going to pitch, my startup, what I do with my online coaching, what I do online, and pitch for seed funding. And yeah, so I'm actually going back to LA next month.
oh,
And
that's
yeah,
really
I'll be
cool.
able to,
That is so exciting.
yeah, it's exciting. And yeah, it definitely puts me outside of my comfort zone. I've pitched
Yeah.
before. And it's just like, it's a huge, it's one of those things where it's like all the time leading up to it is like so you have it all in your head, like just like hyping it up or like being afraid about it. And then like once you do it, it's just like, oh my gosh, like you've unlocked a whole new level of confidence and like,
It's so natural. You just have to remind yourself, like, you know what you're talking about because this is your thing.
yeah, yeah. And honestly, I would have never imagined myself like pitching to investors like my freshman year of college. Like I would have never imagined that I was someone that owned a business or someone that like posted on social media. And I think like that evolution through like such a short amount of time is just what I would attribute to, pushing myself outside of my comfort zone, something that I would have never even thought that I could unlock if I hadn't started with that first step of like showing up to the ASU gym and started showing up for myself consistently. And like, your self-efficacy is just something that like builds up over time. And like, so, and for people on their fitness journey, like, you build up this confidence of like showing up for yourself every single day that like you like start to, push yourself in other areas of your
Yeah.
life. Like, for example, like some of my clients, they, you know, feel like they're stuck at their job, but they have been working with me for like a month or two and they have been showing up for themselves and like they have done the work for themselves. And now they're able to like handle like negative emotions at work and leave them at work or, like confront situations that, make them uncomfortable or something like that because they've built like so much confidence in themselves, like with the promises that they keep to themselves, like with what they can believe they can accomplish, that it like translates into other areas of their life, which is just like so cool to see as well. I mean, I went a little bit off rail, but
No,
yeah, I'm
no.
going to LA next month.
I always say that like mental and physical health go hand in hand with each other, where like if your physical health is in check and you feel confident in your body, you're going to start feeling more confident in other areas. And vice versa, when you take care of your mental health, your body's not going to be feeling the effects of stress and anxiety as much, and you'll be a healthier person. But when in March are you going to LA?
I think it's the first or second week. I can get you the
I'll be
date.
there the second week for
Oh my gosh.
a little bit. So maybe we'll have to meet up. It'll be our thing, going to
Yes.
LA and seeing each other.
Yes, we will touch base.
That's so exciting. That's really cool though. I when I was in school, and I tell my brother this now because he's your age and doesn't want to hear it from me, even though I'm his older sister. But I used every resource that school gave me that could be used to my advantage. Even little things like going to class, and like if I was struggling a little bit, I got the free tutors that the school offered. So I think it's really cool that you're involving yourself and taking advantage of this opportunity. Like, would you like you wouldn't I'm guessing you wouldn't see yourself pitching in front of investors if you didn't take hold of this opportunity at school.
Yeah, and I think it's one of those things where it's you start to put yourself in the environments where you almost feel like you're not supposed to be there, and then that's when the opportunities start
Yeah.
opening like up to you. Um, it's like when you're on that like edge of like what you're uncomfortable with, and like you're in rooms with, people that, you'd like to behave like or act like or own a business like or, have a platform like, it's kind of when you start to like, open yourself up to those opportunities and those connections and like, you know, a pitch competition or something like
Yeah.
that.
No, I mean, even the two of us separately both going to the zoo culture opening, like you were with your boyfriend, but essentially you were by yourself. Like you didn't have any friends that were invited. I just flew across the country and was like, fuck it, I'm going. But then once we were there, it's like, I know we kind of found each other, we found other people, and it was such a comfortable space because everybody there had the same goals, kind of.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. And like for anyone that's like listening that is like comfortable or afraid to take that step, like no matter what it be. I mean, I feel like this could be applied to like so many things. Like if you're at, a job and you want to take that extra step or you want to go to a different position, or let's say you want to start posting on social media, like the people who are meant to be in your life will like value your genuine you taking genuine interest in the things that you want to do. And the people that, don't or, shame you or talk about you or, kind of give you that side eye, like are not meant to be in your life. And I think that's just, part of that space when you're tapping into something that you've never done before, you're, reaching out, there's going to be people that, maybe aren't okay with that next version of you. And that's okay. Like each person serves a different part in your life. And like once you get into that realm of like that new person of you, you're going to be finding more people that are aligned with like what you want to do.
Yeah. I always say too, as I'm getting older, I've noticed that people in like my age range, like just and myself included, have respect for people that take chances. Like, whereas in high school, it's like you never wanted to step out of line in high school because everyone would have something to say about it. But now if I see someone do something risky or take a chance or try something, even if they fail, I'm like, I would never be able to do that. So good for you. And anyone that has something negative to say, I think feels threatened by, like, that's the way I see it. Whenever I get negative feedback or whatever, or people like have things to say about what I do online, I just tell myself, like I'm doing this. I've been successful at it, so they must feel threatened by it, and I'll let them handle that on their own.
Yeah, yeah. Part of it's like letting, people who might, trigger you or, put, self-doubt in your head, like a lot of that is coming from them. And like it's not to say anything about you. Like it's kind of like something that I like to tell like my clients when they're like, afraid to record themselves in the gym or, they're afraid to push the intensity in their sets, like or they're like, for example, they're afraid to do hip thrusts in the gym. Like at the end of the day, Like you are the only person that gets to sit with your gains or your absence of gains after your workout. Like
Yep.
whoever thinks you're weird for doing hip thrusts or is looking at you for doing hip thrusts or something like that, like it doesn't matter because at the end of the day, like you want to make your life exactly what you envision it to be. Do your freaking hip thrust. It's the same thing with like, taking a step out of what you are used to doing at work. Like
Yeah,
you're the only person at the end of the day that is going to have the life that you live. And people don't think about you as much as you think. So like having 100% of your day be aligned with like who you want to be is like the most important thing because you're only like 1% of like someone else's day, but you're 100% of your own.
exactly. And I always say too, because it is like it's natural to feel uncomfortable going into new scenarios or trying new things, especially in the gym. There's a lot of exercises that can feel a little daunting. I think that the attitude that you go into new opportunities will set the path for you almost. Like I always say fake it till you make it because I'm like you might be like freaking out on the inside because you're about to bench press for the first time, but if you walk up and you just have like a look on your face like I know what I'm doing, everyone else is going to feed off that energy and so is your subconscious as well.
Yeah, yeah. A huge part of it is like just like reorganizing your thoughts,
Yeah.
like to believe that you can actually do
Yeah, I agree. Well, I kept you for quite a while. Did you have anything you wanted to bring up that we didn't talk about or anything you wanted to ask me or chat about?
I mean, honestly, I feel like we covered a lot of ground. And I don't know, I think right now, like one of the biggest parts of like what's resonating about me, like with the conversation and like the part that I am in my life is that like, for anyone listening who's like afraid to take the jump or afraid to do something new or join a club or talk to that person at the bar or, go up to the girl at the gym, like you can't live with regret. You only live once. Like once you start putting yourself in those uncomfortable scenarios, like your self-confidence is going to improve so much. And like, you know, once you start doing the things, like one of the questions that I've loved asking myself like this past month is like, what would the best version or what would the highest version of
Yeah,
me do in this scenario? And acting upon like what I believe that person would do, it just changes like the way that your life around you starts to
yeah,
change. So yeah, that's what I would recommend for anyone. Ask yourself what, the highest version of yourself would do or what the best version of you would do and just act upon that because, you gain clarity from just doing things rather than inaction. So live your best life. Step outside your comfort zone. Do that thing that you've been wanting to do. No one's, looking at you as much as you
yeah.
think.
No, that in that part too, really, nobody's looking at you as much as you think. And at the end of the day, I think we should all strive to be the happiest versions of ourselves. And if we're the happiest version of ourselves, who cares? Who cares about literally anything else?
Yeah.
Oh my.
Yes, literally. That's the most important
Yeah.
thing.
So, do you want to tell everyone where they can follow you on Instagram, TikTok, whatever, all that stuff?
Yeah. Yes, yes. Instagram and TikTok, I am at liftwithcat on both. I'm also on YouTube Shorts at liftwithcat.
Perfect.
Same
I'll
name.
have to follow you on TikTok and YouTube because I never see though when people follow me on TikTok or whatever, like unless you tell me like, hey, I'm gonna follow you on TikTok, I don't see it at all.
Yeah, yeah.
It's so bad. All right. Well, thank you so much for joining me, Kat.
Yes, thank you so much for having me, Liz. I love this conversation.